Alrighty, so today we're plugging another movie into the one-shot review system. And the movie that I watched today was Barbarian. And I ended up watching it on Hulu, so there's not going to be any commentary about a movie theater or anything like that. But man, this movie was just an absolute thrill ride the entire way. Just in the way of there was never any shortness of surprises or subverting my expectation as far as what was going to happen next. It was just ridiculous. Now, what is this movie about? So, we originally started out this movie with this girl who's coming to Detroit, and she's staying in an Airbnb for an interview, and turns out that her and somebody else are sharing the same Airbnb at the same time. They got booked at the same time by accident, and the other person seems like an okay person, but it's kind of creepy that there'd be another person there automatically and all that kind of stuff. And the movie makes it feel like that person that's the accidental extra Airbnb is super creepy, or is going to be somebody that's going to do something. But then, he also has his receipts to show that he booked an Airbnb, and then, he's being super respectful, and they share this bottle of wine, and then, it turns out he's somebody that she might want to interview for her job after she gets it, hopefully, and they kind of hit it off. Then she tries to go to bed that night because they've just decided they're going to share the Airbnb, and she notices that her door is open. Then, they both freak out because she tries to wake him up in his sleep to ask why her door is open. He freaks out that she bothered him during his sleep. And then, it's a whole weird exchange. And then the next day happens, and she goes and does her interview, and she comes home. Anyway, a whole bunch of events make it seem like this first guy is definitely going to be a bad person. But I'm not going to spoil any bits of the movie. But let me just say that there is a huge twist. There's a monster in this movie. They show the monster. It's an atypical monster. And then it flips perspective to an entirely different individual that's connected to the same house in some way. And I feel like I'm just about to reveal the plot, but basically there's many twists and turns in this movie. It completely goes against your expectations, and there's multiple sort of big twists that happen. And ultimately it turns into a movie about somebody being trapped in a situation, and then they're trying to fight their way out under various different twists and circumstances. But man, this movie, just the amount of different things that happen but are cohesively a part of the same story is just so ridiculous. And I mean, I don't think that I have ever seen a movie that has this sort of plot going on. It's just ridiculous. But alright, since I don't really want to spoil the plot, since that's kind of like how much fun I had with this movie, with how surprising a lot of the different twists and turns were, I think what I want to do is just kind of talk about what I liked and didn't like about the movie, and then I'll give it a score, and then hopefully you guys can watch it on your own time. But things I did like about the movie, I thought that they did a really good job of doing some of those long, focus, suspenseful shots that I've been talking about when watching these horror movies, where they do those slow zoom-ins, or they're just fixating on one particular angle for no reason, and it just builds all this weird hype and suspense that you otherwise wouldn't have. And then second thing I want to say is everybody acting did a great job, from Skarsgård being slightly awkward but nice, to Justin Long being an absolute dickhead, to the main character just being a normal person. Sorry, I don't know your name. But to the freaking monster thing being creepy as hell, everything across the board. Everybody did a great job, I feel like, playing their part and kind of selling it in a way. Even the homeless dude at the one part in the movie. But anyway, another thing that I would say that I liked about this movie is obviously the subversive twists that happen at multiple points. And then it's kind of like dissecting the way different kinds of people would act in different situations, I think. And then like this guy that happens to be kind of a scumbag in the movie acts like a scumbag at every twist and turn, no matter how many times he's like, oh, I'm sorry. I just thought that was kind of funny. But oh my gosh, like there are basically 3 separate things going on in this movie all at one time. And well, I guess not all at one time, but you get what I'm saying. And for somehow they cohesively come together, even if some are explored a little bit more than others. And I just thought it was so creative the way that was done, even if it didn't pan out to be like the most coherent thing. Once I kind of pieced it all together as I was watching, it made a lot of sense. But yeah, things I dislike about the movie, the only thing I don't really like is that some of in the same way that I would say that it's kind of cool and crazy that there's so many different things going on at once, does create this like ball of chaos where it's like we reach one climactic point and then we immediately edge and go to a completely different storyline and then follow that till it reaches a climactic point, and then we hit a backstory flashback, and then it's like I just kind of wish that some of these things were able to play out a little bit more before the hard chop. But maybe that is what plays into the spookiness of the movie as a whole. And so if that's the case, then I guess it was fine. But it just felt like, at least for that first big twist at the beginning of the movie, that we just spent so much time on this guy's other problem that it's almost like we took too long to get back to the main thing, especially with him like going out that night and stuff like that. But it was interesting, but I just feel like that if there's any takeaway, there was almost too much time spent on the other stuff than what was happening in that house and the crazy stuff that was going on during the couple of days that all this takes time. There was another thing I like though, was that this is definitely one of the creepiest type of scary things that could have happened. This is like uniquely messed up in a way that I can't even like fathom. But regardless, that's the movie. I really can't say more about it because that would just spoil everything crazy that happens in this movie. But I would just say that if you're into one of those just ridiculously crazy thriller type movies, this is one of those movies. And I have to say, if I'm going to plug it into a score out of 5, I think this plugs in at a low 4. I think it was pretty good. I think that there were certain things about it movie-wise that maybe were a little bit less than I thought they should be. But other than that, I mean, dude, it takes you on a freaking thrill ride. I think certain parts are maybe focused on a little bit more than others, and that takes away from the thrill. But other than that, I mean, this movie is crazy. And if you're in a movie like that, I really think you should watch this movie. So that's The Barbarian. That's the review. I'll catch you guys on the next one.